Save setup customization is new for FC25, and there's actually a lot going on in these menus. Some of these toggles don't do very much, but some of them can be huge for making your next save more realistic. Now obviously, I've not played 100 hours of career mode in the 3 days it's been out, but from the time that I have spent, I think I've got a pretty good idea about which ones we need to look at to set up the most realistic save possible inside career mode. So today that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll go through each page and try and explain what they do, while also saying which settings need to be changed to keep your next save more fun and also a lot more realistic. Okay, so just for the start of this video, let's skip these first 2 pages, we'll come back to them, but we want to start with the biggest change that you can make, which is of course, player development speed. There are 2 different options here. One is for academy players and one of them is for senior players. Now, of course, I haven't played too far into career mode, so I wasn't entirely sure how this worked. So I put Endrick on Grimsby Town's team, so he'll play every single game, and I simulated a season on all 3 settings. We went with the exact same setup for each setting. There was no coaches, he was at the same club, playing in the same position on the same development plan. So right now his potential is 91, and after a season on fast, he actually got from 77 to 79. On the default setting, he also reached 79, but on slow, he only reached 78. So compared to the past few years, default is actually already a lot slower than it was before. On FC24, with good coaches, morale and form, you could have easily made Endrick hit probably 84, 85 by the end of the first season. For the most realistic growth in your next career mode save, I would say leave both seniors and youth development speed on the default setting. To be honest, I'd even consider bumping up the youth development speed to fast, because it gives you a reason and a benefit for keeping a player in the academy rather than promoting them too soon. I think this makes sense because the player would be playing in academy matches with academy coaches, so he should be improving faster than just training and sitting on your bench or in your reserves. It also helps with one of the biggest bugs that I've seen in career mode this year, where youth goalkeepers appear with really low diving stats. If you have this on fast, it lets you improve them a little bit quicker and get them up to a decent level while they're still in the academy, meaning you can actually produce goalkeepers this year. The rest of this tab is also really important, but not for a good reason. Training is currently broken if you use the fixed rates training plans. Until you see a patch that claims to fix this, do not use this at all of your players will be stuck on 0 fitness and 0 energy. It's weird that this is broken because I've been using the realistic recovery rates and automated training plans and not noticed any issues. I'd probably recommend that you go for these ones too, because it does mean the players get a little bit more tired from training and you do have to do a little bit more of a squad rotation type deal. Okay, so let's move on to the next tab, which is simulation gameplay. Now, I wasn't really expecting this feature to be very good, but I actually really like it. The sliders are pretty satisfying, and most of the time they don't result in the weird player skating that some of the sliders I used for FC24 definitely did have. It looks like EA is changing these every now and then as well, because I've noticed a couple of the sliders have changed in value since released, but I would still recommend that you turn simulation gameplay on. The only difference this will make to your career mode is that players will probably score less goals and the games will be lower scoring. You can still dominate the AI, but the fact that they can now make mistakes on higher difficulty is nice too. You'll also get more injuries and that can be fun to deal with, but even on 70 injury frequency and severity, I've only actually got a single injury in the 30 to 40 games that I've played. I guess we can talk about wind too, but again, I've not really noticed this doing anything. Even when the wind has been over 20 kilometers an hour, I haven't really noticed it doing anything, so if it does change the ball's movement, it's such a tiny change that you may as well turn it on just in case it does something. Okay, this is actually going to be quite a short video because we've only got 2 more pages to look through and there's not actually too much you want to change in either of these. So let's have a look at how transfers and scouting can be set up. Of course, transfers should always be active because as far as I can tell, there's not a single team in the game that is under an embargo. Transfer negotiations do seem a little bit harder if you put it on realistic, but all it really does is increase the market value of players and also increase how fast the AI gets frustrated with bad offers. If you think players are too cheap, I would put this on realistic, but otherwise, I think the default setting is probably better. Transfer approaches is the same as the past few years too. It's better to leave it on loose and give yourself restrictions rather than put it on strict and end up actually unable to sign any players from any of the other AI teams because they're not interested in your league or moving club, or the AI team just doesn't want to sell them. Finally, let's look at the general settings tab. Board expectations is a tough one to judge because the objectives seem to be slightly better this year. You still get the same weird requests to sign people from obscure nations, and it's because of this that I would put this setting on lenient. From what I can tell, if you put it on strict or if you put it on harsh, you actually get the same objectives as lenient. Basically, the only difference is you can't get fired for not finding 5 wonder kits from New Zealand by the end of Season 1. There are, of course, still some settings that I haven't talked about, and the rest of these are going to just be up to you. Most of them don't really do too much, or if they do something, it's going to be entirely personal preference what you want to do. For example, you can still set up a takeover where you give yourself a bit more initial budget, and then after this, it's just things that you'll know what you want to use. If you want to change the currency or the match difficulty, or have your youth tournaments have your players at full potential rather than their current overall ability, it doesn't really matter when it comes to realism. Still, if you've got any combinations you think that I've missed, or settings that you really think need to be changed, of course let me know in the comments below. This game has only been out for a few days, so of course we're all still learning what everything does, but hopefully if you follow this guide that I've given you today, you'll have a pretty fun, pretty realistic save, no matter what team or what save idea you go with. But thank you for watching, really do appreciate it. Please subscribe because I'm trying to get to 100k as soon as I can, and I'll see you soon. Cheers and goodbye.